lives.
Amen.
It really transforms them. And so what I want you to hear is that oneness comes from a giving attitude. If we as believers are going to be one, we absolutely have to have a giving attitude towards each other. How do we become one? We become one. This is point number 2. If you're following along in your notes, major point number 2. We become one through self-sacrificial giving. Now I want to make this practical for a few moments and talk about just one real issue that everybody in the world is facing right now. The world and our nation are polarizing over the pandemic and dividing into hate groups. Our leaders on both sides of the political aisle are segregating people, denying people, demonizing people, and canceling people over how they feel about the pandemic and masks and vaccines and you name it. All right? And dear ones, my concern is that I see those attitudes threatening to creep in among the people of God. But that's the world. And that's the spirit of the enemy of God, because he has ever sought to divide and to foster hate among people. Why? Because he knows that's how he will conquer us. You see, one piece of paper alone, easy. You can just shred it, right? It rips easily. But you put a bunch of pieces of paper together, now I'm not a weak guy. But that made me look weak, didn't it? It's paper, Pastor. You can't even, what? You see, put a bunch of paper together and you can't rip them at all. You see, there is strength in oneness, and that's why the devil hates it. Division is of the kingdom of darkness, dear friends, and we must resist it. We must never allow it amongst us. And here's what I want to say. To take a position, even after 2 years, there is so much about the pandemic that we don't understand, and we are still trying to learn. What we thought 2 years ago, what we thought 2 years ago was right has changed. It's not, it's not true. What we thought was true 2 years ago, it's not true. We realize it's not true now, and everything keeps changing. And so to take a position on the pandemic or on masks or on vaccines or whatever and say that you are right and everyone who doesn't agree with you is wrong and is evil, and then to hate and demonize others who have a different position than you is at best foolish and at worst completely unchristlike. Take your position. Everyone is entitled to your personal belief. Take your position, but always hold it lightly and remain open to the possibility that you are wrong and that you might at some point need to change your position. Take your position, but don't think that people with a different position from you are selfish, evil people who don't care about others. Don't think that people with a different position from you are weak or unspiritual people who don't have enough faith. Realize on both sides are good and sincere people who love God and care about others and who are trying to be true to their consciences. Amen. Don't look at people who wear a mask and say, oh, they're a weak Democrat. Don't look at people who don't wear a mask and say, oh, they're a selfish Republican. That's judging people. That's dividing people. That is not answering the prayer of Jesus. Why can't we look at that person, whatever they're doing, and say, they're a child of God?
Amen.
And they are my brother or they are my sister. Amen. And I'm going to love them.
Amen.
I'm going to love them. If we do that, we would show the world that we are one as Jesus prayed for us to be. And if we as believers are going to rise above the division of the world, I believe we've got to do at least a couple of things. And maybe this isn't everything, but here's a start. First of all, we got to turn off mainstream media, because they're the ones, I believe, at least this is my personal belief, they're the ones driving the narrative of fear and hate in our nation. We need to stop listening to them. We need to start thinking for ourselves and doing our own research. And then we've got to see each other through the eyes of Jesus. No matter who they were or what they thought or did, Jesus saw every person as a son or daughter of God. He saw them as a person that he would die to save. He saw them as people to love and have a relationship with, even the people who were crucifying him. He said, Father, what?
Forgive them.
Forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing.